Welcome to another episode of Your Story, My Story. I'm your host, Bree, and today's guest, I'm very excited about my guest today, Gwen McLeod,
Yes.
domestic abuse advocate. As you know, this is Domestic Abuse Month, and Gwen was very gracious when I reached out to her a couple weeks ago to do this interview. Gwen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you are most welcome. I would like to ask you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Gwen McLeod. First and foremost of all, I am a woman of God. I love the Lord and He loves me.
Amen.
I am a mother. I have 6 beautiful children. I am a wife. I have a husband whom I've been married to for 20 years. Next year will be our 21st year anniversary. And we are madly in love with one another and have a beautiful relationship. That's a little bit about me personally. I'm also a grandmommy. I have 3 grandbabies. Hi, if my kids get a chance to see this.
She doesn't look like a grandmother.
That's a good thing. But I'm so excited to be here tonight. And I founded the We Leap organization 3 years ago.
Okay.
I'm also a domestic violence survivor. I was involved in a toxic relationship prior to meeting my husband. It started out beautiful. The first 2 years were just a dream relationship, which how most of
Yes.
these relationships start.
Yes.
They come in hot and heavy. I was young during this time. I was in my mid-20s, so I was like
Okay.
22-ish when I was involved in this relationship. Well, from 18 to like 24, I was involved in a relationship with this young man. Well, the first 2 years, like I said, went well. And then I started noticing different things started changing in the relationship, the arguing and different things of that nature. And it went from verbal to physical, and from physical, it just kind of started spiraling more downward. The control, just various things that as a young lady that I said that would never happen to me because I
Yes.
saw it growing up in my household with my mom, where her first and second and third husband, there were abusive tendencies in her relationships, and then the boyfriends in between. And as a young woman growing up, I was exposed to a lot of things that a lot of our youth today probably are being exposed to.
Yes.
When your parents are not saved and you're out there living in a worldly condition. I was exposed to a lot of worldly things, and I just thank God for Jesus because He covered me and He shielded me from a lot of things that I went through as a child. Other people would have lost their mind. Let's just say it like that.
Yes.
But God is a keeper. So fast forward, I'm in this relationship myself. I had enough sense to know when I was seeing it going on in my household with my mommy that I didn't want it to happen to me, and it wasn't going to happen to me.
Yes.
However, when I started dating myself, a lot of the tendencies that come with abusive relationship, I was not able to identify the signs.
Yes.
And then when it got to the point to where I knew it was coming, and I knew that the next lick was coming, or the anger or the blow up was gonna come, I found myself in a position where the very thing that I said I didn't want to happen to me was happening to me, and I didn't know what to do about it.
Yes.
So
You saying that, domestic abuse, it tends to be a very subtle thing. You don't realize you're in the situation until sometimes it's looking back where you start to, you realize all the red flags that were there that, you think that if I love him enough, if I try hard enough, or some people, go into marriage thinking, okay, marriage is like a magic wand, that will change everything. What would you say to a young woman or to a wife that, maybe this was the first time that she was hit or she was verbally abused? What would you say to that woman?
the first thing I would tell her is it's not your fault.
Yes.
Most of the time when the abuse starts, however subtle, it might, like I said, it might be just verbal abuse. He may have never have placed his hands on you. Or for that matter, she may have never placed her hands on you.
Yes.
Because domestic violence does affect men as well.
Yes.
You need to know that it is not your fault. And a lot of times we internalize, what could I have did better? What should I not have done? What did I say? What did I not say? It's not your fault. That's the first thing I want you to know. The next thing that I want you to know is to begin to monitor the frequencies of the incidents that are taking place. What are the triggers? What are the things that are causing this person to blow up? And you might not even be able to figure it out because it happens so instantaneously, you don't know what happened. But I want you to start really paying attention to those times so that you know how to kind of guard yourself, put yourself in a position where you're safe until you can leave or till you decide to leave. Because I know a lot of times most people, if it's not physical,
Yes.
they might just stay in it. That is your choice. I highly recommend that you leave. It's detrimental to your mental health. A lot of times we feel like if our physical health is not in jeopardy, well, we can handle it. But your mental health, your peace of mind, your heart, your blood pressure, stress, all of that comes with mental health. And if you're in a toxic relationship, I highly recommend that you evaluate what you're doing to yourself, your heart, your mind, your body, and your spirit, and know that you're worth better. And start developing a plan on how you can leave.
That was very powerful. Definitely very powerful. I watched a sermon by Michael B. Kelly, Seventh-day Adventist pastor, and it was dealing with abuse. And when I listened to that sermon, I just remember how moved I was by it. And he talked about the different forms of abuse. Because most often domestic abuse is associated with physical abuse. But most often we forget about the emotional abuse, as you mentioned. But he talked about spiritual abuse. He talked about like financial abuse, sexual abuse.
Yes.
He dealt with so many issues, and it really gave me a lot to think about. And something that he addressed, and I would like for you to elaborate on this. He talked about it like being a dirty secret of the church. Like too often there are people in the church who are abusers or who are being abused.
Right.
We paint the pretty picture. We come to church and we smile and we're happy, but no one knows what goes on behind closed doors.
Yes.
So what would you like to say about that?
Again, because domestic violence has always been one of those issues, even growing up as a child, we were taught, especially in the African American community, what happens at home
Yes.
stays at home.
Yep.
It's not anybody's business
Yes.
what's going on in this house. Well, I beg to differ. What happens at home does not stay at home, because the children are affected by it.
Yes.
Co-workers are affected by it. Families that are outside of that house are impacted and affected by it. Your social setting, your other friends are affected by it. So what happens at home does not stay at home. And as it pertains to the church, you are so right. I have helped several individuals who were from the church scene, and one individual in particular, her husband was the pastor and he was also the abuser.
Yes.
But to save face, she covered it.
That's what happened.
What would the congregation think of him if they knew? What would happen to the church? What would happen to the parishioners? So she had all of these reasons why she needed to keep silent. She had all of these reasons while she had to bear this burden as a first lady of the church. But at the same time, she was broken and hurting on the inside. Even so much so, till she had to go to the optometrist and had to lie to the optometrist who was looking at her eye about what happened to her eye. He had hit her so bad that she could not see out of that eye.
Yes, so sad.
And this is what we're dealing with. it is enough. We must break the silence, first of all, as individuals, as people, but most of all within the kingdom.
Yes.
Within the kingdom, within the body of Christ, we need to break the silence.
Yes.
Because it's not helping you if you're keeping quiet, and it's not helping someone else that needs to hear your testimony.
Yes.
Me speaking up gives you the courage to speak up. Me moving out of my situation has blessed you to know that you too can move out of your situation. Support is available. Help is available. If not now, then let us help you plan the when. You might not be ready now, but let us help you put a plan together so when that day comes, because hopefully it will come, because when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired,
yes,
you need to have a plan.
yes,
You need to have a plan. So as sisters within the body,
yes.
within the church, we need to stand by and support one another.
Most definitely. Most
And
definitely.
it's not your fault.
I'm so glad that you said that, because too often victims do blame themselves. They think, if I had done this, and if I didn't provoke him, if I didn't make him angry, then he wouldn't have done it. And, you know, too often authenticity is something that is very important to me. And especially as a Christian woman, if you are being abused, then you are not representing truth. If you're a part of, you know, sitting in the church, living a lie, and especially when the abuser is a pastor or an elder or a deacon,
Yes.
because we think we are protecting them. At the end of the day, we are a part of the lie, and we are a part of the vicious cycle. And it's unfortunate, because I know that when I went through my divorce, I can tell you it was very unpleasant, because I have been a codependent person my whole life, and I was trying my best to break that cycle. And I remember all the time hearing, oh, think about his soul salvation, and you have to do this, and you know, and I felt so violated, because I felt like I was being forced. You know, the guilt trips were horrible.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Because it made me question myself as a Christian woman. So I'm so glad for what you have shared, because it's reminded me, you know, of what I went through during that time. But I had to do what was right for me, and I felt that God was, you know, He understood why I made the decision that I did. Because sometimes we don't know what goes on behind closed doors.
Exactly.
We assume that brother so-and-so or sister so-and-so, they're wonderful people. But how do you really know? Unless you live with that individual 24/7, you really don't know. So, you know, Gwen, I just really want to commend you for your work in the community. How I found you, I was looking through a friend's Facebook one day, and there were pictures of you at an event. And I remember thinking, wow, she seems like a very interesting person. I sent you a friend request.
Right.
And, you know, I look at the pictures of your work, and I truly want to commend you for it, because some women will never take that step.
Oh yes.
And, you know, maybe someone hearing you or coming to one of these events, I think too often we're embarrassed to share what happened to us, because it is embarrassing sometimes when you think of the abuse that you were subjected to and all of that. But it's a wonderful thing when you are authentic enough to share your experience, because when you think of what it could do for another woman, that it may give her the courage to leave. So how long did it take you to become an advocate after you left your situation?
Well, advocacy is not what I would have called it. That's what we call it now.
Right.
But I just knew that after I came out of my situation, that I needed some time to get me together.
Yes.
I had enough sense to know that I was tore up from the floor. My mind, I was not ready to go back into a relationship. I knew that God had did something in my life, because I remember Even with my abuser at the time, I left him and I end up, that's another day's story.
Mm-hmm.
But long and the short of it, I ended back in a relationship with him very briefly.
Okay.
And during that time, I became pregnant.
Okay.
And I tried my best to try to work it out during that time, but I knew that it wasn't going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So even during that time, God was dealing with my heart. He was equipping me. He was building me. So I didn't become an advocate, so to speak, immediately after I came out of my relationship.
Okay.
God took me through a period of healing. He took me through a period of deliverance. He took me through a period of knowing who I was outside of the relationship. And oftentimes women will leave one relationship and go right back into another relationship without taking the time to heal. Yes. And there are women that are out there that are working in the field of domestic violence awareness, but they're coming more from a victim's perspective than from a victor's perspective. Exactly. I come from a perspective of, yes, it happened, I survived it, but I moved on beyond surviving it and I overcame it. It's not till you become an overcomer that you can begin to speak into the life of somebody else to really reach your hand back in and pull them out. Surviving is lateral. Is this. Mm-hmm. Yes, you survived it, but when you overcome it, it's something in your voice. Wow. It's something in your spirit. It's something in your transparency. Not just your authenticity, but your transparency. It happened. I can show you my wound. I can touch it, but it doesn't hurt anymore because I overcame it. And now I can teach you how to heal your wounds as a survivor to where it's no longer pain associated with it. Yes. When I talk about my scars, there's scars of the abuse that I went through or the molestation that I went through as a child. There's nothing that's attached with it. No anger, no bitterness, nothing. I don't have that because God delivered me from it. As a matter of fact, my perpetrator, when I was the abuser in my life, he ran into me in Walmart. It's my first child's father. And he said to me, I heard about your organization. He said, does that have to do with what we went through? And I looked him in the face and I said, yes, it does. And he told me in the Walmart, on the bread aisle, that I'm sorry for everything that I ever did to you, how I ever treated you. And I want you to know I truly meant that. He said, but that's not who I am anymore. I said, I thank God that's not who you are anymore. And I said, I forgave you a long time ago. However, our story needs to be shared so that so many other young people that are out there dating, are in all of these relationships, premarital relationships, that are living like husband and wives and they're not husband and wives. They need to know what I went through. You could have killed me, not once, but twice, in the name of love. Had not God kept me, he said, you're right. And I could be in prison. I say, yeah, you're right. So it is important that we be authentic and transparent. What does that mean? Take the covers off. It happened, but you are not what happened to you. It happened, but I am not what happened to me. We must break the silence. The next generation needs us.
Gwen, I tell you, I'm here fighting back tears. I'm here fighting back tears because what you have just shared is amazing and powerful. Because, something that, I'm so into health and wellness and all of that, and I always talk about self-care, the importance of it. I love your approach. And I think it is so important because taking the time to heal, taking the time to take care of yourself, it's so necessary. I mean, we as women, we tend to put ourselves on the back burner and we don't give ourselves permission to love ourselves and to take care of ourselves. And we don't understand that when we take the time to love ourselves and take care of ourselves, we have more to give. Because too often we save nothing for ourselves, and we're just burnt out and we're just existing.
Yes.
And I just love your approach, because when you're stuck in that victim mentality, you're always enslaved and held bondage by that pain of the past. You can't enjoy the present because you're so caught up in the past, and you don't even know how to move forward into the future. And that's something that I've only recently grasped, because the pain, I mean, I'm 54 years old, and I was still struggling with so many issues of the past. I grew up in a home with domestic abuse, and my mother is a woman that I truly admire because of what she did to survive. But the approach, you know, the victim mentality, because so many groups, they keep women stuck. They keep women stuck.
Absolutely.
Because they believe, they still go into that, I'm a victim, I'm a victim, I'm a victim. So your approach, because when you were speaking, I felt power from your voice. I felt it. I felt it. I felt like this is a strong woman, a woman who has, like, I've been claiming the restoration of Job. Right. I claim that all the time, because I promised myself I never want to be a victim.
Well, that's interesting that you use Job, because all that Job went through before his full deliverance came, God told him that he needed to pray for his friends.
Yes.
The ones who,
yeah,
when he was at his lowest point, that was supposed to be there to support him.
Yes.
They were there, but their agenda and their motives were way off.
Way off.
They had him in a victim frame of mind.
Yes.
You had to have did something.
Right.
If you wouldn't have did that, God wouldn't have did that to you. You must have said something that made him mad. Just stop saying whatever it is that you're saying. That's why this is happening to you.
Yeah.
Surely he wouldn't be beating on you or treating you this way had you not did. You had to have done something.
Right.
And that's where a lot of women are stuck.
And that happens to a lot of women. It's like, when you think about it, well, what did you do for him to do that? Why did he, you know, I remember the Tina Turner movie, and there was that scene where she was running away, and it was her mother, that, you know, told him where she was. And too often we're so caught up in keeping a family together.
Yes.
And sometimes there are some families that need to be broken up.
And it's not God's will for you to be in an abusive relationship. No. I don't care what your pastor told you. Listen, let me tell you something. That is not God's will.
Amen.
Jesus said when he was teaching, he said Moses, God allowed that divorce decree because of the hardness of men's heart. Yes. It was never his intention for divorce to take place, but he allowed it because you are his daughter. You're his daughter. And he will not allow the rod of the wicked to rest upon the righteous long. So it's your choice. If you stay there, it's because you want to stay there. Yeah. So what I'm saying to you is, don't try to look for a scripture to try to hold you there. If you're being abused, run and don't look back. That's the important piece. That you're worth it. It was never God's intention for you to stay and be battered and to be abused. And I'm thinking, you know, Abigail came to my mind. Abigail was one where the word of God says that she was married to a fool. Her husband was Nabal. So this is nothing new under the sun. She was married to a fool. He was brutish. He was verbally abusive. We don't know if he was physically abusive, but we can tell from the word of God that it talks about Abigail and how David had got so upset that he was prepared to come and kill Abigail's husband's Nabal, but she had to go plead the case for her husband. But you know what God did? He didn't allow David to kill him. But because of his foolishness, he was taken out. But I don't know how I got over there, but long and short of it is, you don't have to stay in an abusive relationship. That is not God's will for you. I can do bad by myself. I'm sorry. And you probably don't feel like that. You probably have so many different reasons. As a survivor of domestic violence, I know myself, if I would have had kids, maybe that would have changed things. I didn't have kids when I left out. Maybe you've never worked. Maybe you don't make your own money. Maybe you don't have any money. If you leave and go where? All of these things are probably things that are going through your mind. But like I said, even if you don't leave now, start the planning process in the back of your mind on how will I do it, when will I do it. Get yourself a plan together. But whatever you do not stay in a place where you're being devastated, broken, and beaten. Don't do it.
Very powerful. Very, very powerful, Gwen. Earlier you mentioned We Leap. Please tell me about it, the programs and the services and all that's involved with that.
Okay, well, We Leap is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And the name, that's a whole nother story how God gave me the name, but I will tell you what it means. We Leap stands for Women, Now and Men, Excelling, Leading, Empowering, and Persevering. Because this is a persevering way. There are going to be days where you feel like giving up.
Yes.
There are going to be days where you're going to come and say, maybe I should go back. What could I have done differently? But the whole point of We Leap is to provide a support system for people who have finally made up their minds to take the leap, to get out of it. So We Leap is here to support you, empower you, and help you to persevere so you can live your best life with help.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. It's nice to know that something like that is offered in this area.
Absolutely.
It's
I wish I would have
amazing.
had it.
Yeah.
But thank God for Jesus.
I mean, and the sad thing is, you know, for the women out there who are watching right now, you know, is there a website that?
Yes.
Okay.
Our website is we-leap, the number 2.com. You can go there and find some of the different programs and resources we have.
Okay.
When we first started out, it was just primarily a women's group. We started out with like 8 ladies coming. And I teach a different topic about healthy relationships each month. Not so much the domestic violence abuse. I call it the healthy relationships because the only way that you can understand what a healthy relationship looks like is by us talking about what a healthy relationship looks like. So it's called Break the Silence because so many people are holding things in or afraid to speak out about what has happened to them. And so we have these sessions to educate one another, support one another, so you can take it back out into the community and help your coworker.
Yes.
You might have never gone through anything, but you may learn something that might help your sister,
Yes.
your niece, your son. Again, this is not, domestic violence does not discriminate.
Exactly.
Male, female, rich, poor, from the White House to the crack house, it doesn't matter. Domestic violence does not discriminate, and so we want to educate everyone. That's what we do with the program.
I am hoping that the viewing audience will take the time to look up the website and look. You may not need this information, but you know, you may have a friend or a relative or someone that needs this information. So don't be afraid. Are you on Facebook? Because your organization.
I am on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, just look for We Leap Inc. on Facebook
and share it. Share it on your wall. Share it every day. You know, share it every day because there is someone, I promise you, that will need that information, and you may never know. You may have even saved a life just by sharing that on your wall. So please take the time to do that. Gwen, I know you have an upcoming event this month for domestic abuse. Would you please tell us about it?
Well, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Each year we put on what's called a purple tie event. Purple is the color of domestic violence. And what we are endeavoring to do is raise awareness about domestic violence more than just in October. But in honor of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we will be hosting our 3rd annual Purple Tie event. It's a community networking gala, a fashion show, there are silent auction items, different ways that you can get involved, increase awareness, and just come out and support an absolutely fabulous cause. We have our local officials that are starting to partner with our organization. We have sponsors such as the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Department, the City of Fort Pierce, the City of Port St. Lucie. Come out, get involved, get informed. I'll see you at the Purple Tie event, Friday, October the 20th. Doors open at 6:30 p.m. The cost of a ticket is only $30. If you bring a friend, you actually save $10 because it's $50 for 2 people. So come on out, become educated, made aware, and help support us at the 3rd annual Purple Tie event.
Gwen, if I wasn't away on my cruise, I would have been out there to support that event. But hopefully your next event, I would gladly come out and support it. And I have to tell you, Gwen, when I started this show, my goal was to educate and uplift and, inspire. And just sitting here with you today, I have felt all 3 of those things. Honestly, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate this, and I'm hoping that we can do this again soon.
I absolutely look forward to it.
I would love to have you come back as a guest. So, to the women out there, it's Domestic Abuse Month, but you know what? We don't need to focus about this important issue just in October.
Right.
We should focus on this every month.
The best domestic abuse awareness.
Yes.
You got to put the awareness month
Awareness. I do apologize for that. I do apologize for that.
This is not Domestic Abuse Month. This is Domestic Abuse Awareness Month.
No, so it doesn't mean abusers come out and abusers October. No, I do apologize.
We help us one to another.
It's been a long day. But no, domestic abuse awareness.
And this is how our We Leap sessions are.
Yeah.
We're talking about a very serious subject, but we talk about it in a way where it's palatable.
Yes.
You can learn. You can be empowered.
Yes.
Inspired and helped. So
definitely. And I tell you, I am sure that the audience has felt everything that you have said today and appreciate everything that you have said. And if you are out there and you are struggling with this issue right now, feel free. Is there a number for a hotline or something, Gwen?
Well, we currently don't have a hotline in place. My number is the hotline.
Okay.
It's 772-940-1632. If there's something that I'm not able to help you with, I will connect you with the social services organizations. Maybe you don't know who the local domestic violence, certified domestic violence provider is. I can get you that. It's Safe Space if you didn't know that. So we can connect you with whatever resources that you might need, or just be there to pray with you. And that's something that another organization won't be able to do. But because I'm not up under anyone's umbrella, I can pray with you if that's something that you desire.
That's a wonderful thing. There's nothing like prayer. Gwen, once again, thank you. And like I said, we will do this again soon. And thank you for joining us for this episode of Your Story, My Story. We'll see you again soon.
Bye.